the difference between using the and or conditions in a if-else statement in a certain function in HTML5. I hope that for most of you guys, this is kind of a review. Kind of like the gospel, it's always nice to go over the basics and review some of the simpler things in preparation for helping you do more complex things. Especially for me, I'm still new to coding, so it's always nice to revisit some of the older stuff and relearn it basically. So to start off, I talked about the origins of just if statements in general. HTML5, the language uses if statements that are Boolean logic. Basically, that means these can only have two values, true or false. If you want all values in your function to be true, then you would use one certain condition. If you wanted one to be true and others could be false and you're fine with that, then you would use a different condition. Those two conditions are the double and the double vertical lines that we saw at the beginning. But basically, an if statement will take a condition inside of the parentheses, and if that condition is met, then it will do that certain thing that is inside the block, inside the double block parentheses as well. If not, then it moves on to the next one, and so on and so forth, until one of those if statements are correct or meet the conditions inside the parentheses. Boolean logic gives us the opportunity and possibility to evaluate a whole string of statements and see whether the whole string is true or false. But those conditions have to be met in order for them to be true. This is where we enter using the and or conditions in if-else statements in HTML. So what does the double and mean? Well, as I've mentioned, that means and. And when using that, it means you have to meet all the conditions inside the parentheses in order for that if statement to be true. If both statements are not true, then if both statements are not true, then it'll run to the next program until all those conditions are met. If none of the if statements are true, or both do not, or conditions are not met, then an error will occur. In an example that I gave, I have a function called college grade level. With this, it asks for the name of a school, and the number of credits of a certain student. I used my name and I used our school as an example, with an example of 78 credits. Now, this function will allow that student to see what grade level they are in college or a school. And it's based on the amount of credits that they have. So using the and conditions, both conditions have to be met in order for that if statement to be true. So because I used the credits of 78 in our first statement, if statement, you can see that 78 is greater than 0, but it is not less than 29. So since both of those conditions are not met, it would have to go to the next if statement to see if that one is met. Because 78 is greater than 30, but not less than 59, it'll go to the third if statement, which is our answer. 78 is greater than 60, and it is less than 89. So because of that, the function will then give off the message or predetermined message of, hello, Zach, you are a junior at BYU, Idaho. So we've gone over the and, meaning that both conditions have to be met in the parentheses in an if-else statement. But what if you only want one of those conditions to be true and the other ones you don't care if they're false? Well, it enters or. Like I said, only one condition has to be true and the other ones can be false in order for the function to run its due action, basically. In the example that I have, we have the user inputting two numbers, number 1 and number 2. It'll then take those numbers and subtract them to find an absolute result. Now, In the first if statement, I have that if the result is greater than 0, or the result is not equal to -1, then your displayed answer when you hit the button, want your answer, will be that answer. But there's a condition that if that's not met, or both are correct, then the else statement will go on. So when the user puts in 22 and 10 and clicks want your answer, the function will run and produce the answer of 12. This is done because the OR condition is met. The result is greater than 0, or the result is not equal to -1. When running those kind of programs, you just have to remember that only one of those conditions need to be met in order for that function to carry on and go through. But if you want all conditions to be met, then you should use the AND. This is very key to remember as you go through and make more complex strings and more complex equations. And as you add more and more, you want to make sure that you always have that signature down. On the discussion board, I will include a link that goes to a table that I've seen made, so you can play around with if-else statements and the conditions of being both true or one true, one false. But I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation. Thank you for your time, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Talk to you later.